Today's dedication is for Terax, who gave me a very generous 1 year's worth of subscriptions on Patreon. Zuladok versus Kess, Muldrotha, and the Dragon. Can we get into ramp with the Sensei's Divining Top? There's always the risk that we can't. There's always the risk that we don't get into lands if we mulligan, so I'm going to try keeping this. If we don't like the top 3 cards of the library, we can hopefully shuffle with the Demolition Field as well. Kess throws out a Mana Vault on turn 1. Alright, getting into a rock for turn 2, so we'll be able to play that and spin the top, so get Sensei's Divining Top into play here. And I should hold priority for the rest of the game with this thing so that I can put it on top of the library and draw to protect it. I'm not going to do that because it takes forever, so if someone does catch us out and points removal at Sensei's top and manages to resolve it, then so be it, but I'm not going to hold up the game even longer than I normally do with the commentary for the sake of saving the top. See more fast mana from the 5 colour player in the form of Mana Crypt into an Arcane Signet. Well, this is quite a game, a Mana Crypt over here as well. So all the naysayers online that say, oh, it's not casual if you play Mana Crypt, well, welcome to Magic Online. I'm not lying to you. You're at a distinct disadvantage if you don't play monetarily what are cheap pieces of fast mana. Like, these don't cost anywhere near as much on Magic Online, that's why everyone runs them, but the number of times I've had naysayers on the channel over the years telling me that I shouldn't be playing Mana Crypts in my deck, well, everyone else is doing it, so I'm not going to put myself at a disadvantage like that, am I? Arcane Signet off the back of the Mana Vault as well. And that is a Cypher Mind. Each other player discards a card, and you draw for each card discarded this way, so Kozilek makes sense here, because it will get shuffled back into the library. Shame that we couldn't look at the Sensei's Divining Top first, though. See a land go down here, and a Mindslaver I'm glad to see the back of, although it'll soon come back out with the Muldrotha. So there's us with our pathetic 1 land. Kess goes back up to 6 cards in hand off the back of the Cypher Mind, of course. Drop a Wastes into Mind Stone. We drew a Doubling Cube, by the way, which was broken at first, but I think I've used it since then. I'm going back years now, thinking about that being broken. So see what we can get off the top with Sensei's Divining Top. Right, there is a Burnished Heart, which I will probably play next turn, so it's, yeah, Ugin, Rogue's Passage, and Burnished Heart on top. Dockside Extortionist already coming into play on turn 2, making 6 treasure tokens, so I think they can afford their commander already. Instead deciding on Sarkhan, Solar Flame, 2 cards in hand over there, but deciding to leave the treasure tokens alone. So wants to make this a copy of the commander, you would think. Cloud of Fairies comes into play for free effectively, will untap some lands when it enters. Then Conduit of Worlds able to play lands from the graveyard, and they can play a non-land permanent from the graveyard once a turn. And then the Solemn swings in towards the Dragon player. So after a card draw here seemingly, because can easily block with the Sarkhan. Consider is Surveil 1, then draw. They have ended up with Infernal Grasp in the bin. So eagerly trying to get into another land seemingly, and that could put another one on top. And the CDH continues, Mystic Remora. Alright, so drawing into the Burnished Heart, I'll get down the Demolition Field before we're forced to discard it or something, and play the Burnished Heart straight away. Then, so that I can pass priority through the next turn cycle, we'll just spin Sensei's Divining Top now. Ideally I would just do it at the end of Kess's turn, but I don't think it really matters if we do it here. Yeah, as much as I'd like to have Ugin in hand, we're nowhere near it, so just getting into consistent land drops is probably going to be better. Let's go Wastes, Ugin, and the Rogue's Passage. Well, no, it's not the commander, it's another scary one, Utvara Hellkite, so that comes down, becomes a copy of the, or Sarkhan becomes a copy of it, and because there's 2 in play, that means that 2 6/6 dragons come in with it, and yeah, the copy Sarkhan goes in at the right. Dockside Extortionist trading with the Cloud of Fairies, or jumping in the way of the Cloud of Fairies. Fairies goes down, Dockside stays in play. Vampiric Tutor being played by the Muldrotha. Mystic Remora draws a card. Mindslaver being played from the bin via the Conduit of Worlds, so 2 cards in hand there. And we have a Mindslaver to worry about next turn. 1 mana being paid into the Remora in order to keep it around. And we get another tax effect in the form of Rhystic Study. And we know we're drawing into a land, so we'll play the Rogue's Passage. And we can actually spin the top twice here, but I'm gonna crack the Burnished Heart regardless, so let's just crack it now, and then we can spin the top afterwards. Maybe spin it again at the end of this player's turn, just in case, while we've got the surplus mana. Might be that someone plays a card in which we want to change what's on top of our library. Alright, another land, a Gilded Lotus, and Ulamog. I think that has to be... We'll go Wastes, Ulamog, and the Gilded Lotus. I might want to move the land further up, but while we've got a land next turn, if we can keep our rocks in play, we could actually play the Titan there, even if we do miss a land. Obviously want to be getting into the Zuladoc first though. Simic Signet being played into the 2 stacks effects. And now with 0 cards in hand, we see the Dragon come down into play. Deciding to crack a treasure token in order to pay the Rhystic Study cost. So Sarkhan, still in play, becomes a copy of the Dragon. So the Dragon has Summoning Sickness over here, but Sarkhan becoming a copy of it will allow it to swing in straight away, meaning that the Utvara Hellkite is going to get multiple triggers here and make some dragon tokens. Multiple triggers on the Dragons as well, because there's 2 of them in play. So they're going to refill their hand here. Draw 4 cards on the first one, and getting into play another Sarkhan, the Fireblood, in the form of a Planeswalker, and then drawing again with the second resolution of the ability. And that gets into play a Herald's Horn, so 7 cards in hand, making the dragons cost slightly less, or 6 cards in hand actually after this comes down. And it is the Muldrotha player who he is swinging in at, most likely, thanks to the Mindslaver. And then we see the 2 mana Cyclonic Rift going on to the Mindslaver, so that will buy a turn. Muldrotha is all the way down to 4 already by the end of turn 4. Because this has been your typical degenerate Magic Online game. Alright, now just planning my turn out. I shouldn't go for it now, but we're not going to win this game anyway, so I'll just do it here. If we go for the Gilded Lotus next turn, it means that we can go for Ugin's Mastery as well, which means at the moment we'll be manifesting the Titan, and I don't want to do that. So that means we go Ulamog. The Wastes will be manifested under the enchantment, and then we can still draw into the Gilded Lotus, which is on the top. Muldrotha does not manage to dodge the bolt on Mana Crypt, so goes down to 1. There's a Gilded Lotus over here as well, so deciding to just ramp up a little bit. If that's the best that Muldrotha can do, then not going to last much longer, unfortunately. But might as well play to his outs, because maybe the Kess player has a board wipe in hand with all that card draw. Okay, but just deciding to scoop at that, so... yeah, I don't think that necessarily really matters. I mean, he would have only had to dedicate 1 dragon in towards Muldrotha. Or I suppose just the Dockside Extortionist, so it doesn't even take a dragon out of combat next turn. That is a Jeska's Will, and it just made the mana with that. Obviously doesn't control Kess at the moment. Decided to let the Mystic Remora go down as well, didn't want to put any more mana into that. So playing a Kess, and doesn't look like he has a board wipe in hand, even with all those cards that were drawn. Does still have the mana to play Jeska's Will from the bin though, and we'll get some card advantage from doing that as well. Yeah, it goes for the Jeska's Will, so makes, or goes up to 5 red mana. And exile, do we get to see what's exiled? Yeah, we can't see anything in the exile zone here, so I'm not sure what's happened there. Alright, so maybe a misclick of some kind, maybe just made the mana and didn't exile them. He leaves the 5 mana alone and just gets rid of it. Goes through to the beginning of combat, and I have to see where these dragons turn in next turn. And then just decides to scoop, awesome. So, totally screwing me in the process. That's, well, it is what it is. We get into the Gilded Lotus. This is all by turn 5, don't forget. I do want to ban this player for doing that, actually, because he's totally warped the game in the dragon player's favour here. Anyway, we were losing this one regardless, like I said, so Ugin's Mastery going to manifest the top card of our library. Oh, I thought this was on entry. It's when you cast a colourless spell. Alright, fair enough. Might as well just play the doubling cube and pass and await our demise to the dragons here. A Shadric Silverquill is an Orzhov dragon that can come into play and do some stuff here. Not for our benefit, of course. Sarkhan becomes a copy of it and plays an Explore for some reason. Then it's through to combat. There are 2 Shadrics in play thanks to the Sarkhan Solar Flame, which sort of gives haste to dragons, so see what our opponent chooses here. Could have just turned everything in sideways, of course, but wants to do something with Shadric, seemingly. Gonna be enough triggers on the stack when it comes to the dragon. We draw a card and lose a life, and we draw a card and lose a life again. We knew what was on top of the library, and it's a load of plus counters on the dragons, so we take even more damage. And our opponent's going to make even more dragons and draw a whole heap of cards here. I think our opponent got in a Temur Ascendancy there, so means of more card draw, has 11 cards in hand. See what our life total goes down by here. Yep, we go down to 12 commander damage and minus 41. So that was a convincing one. It's been pretty degenerate on Magic Online today, so pretty one-sided one for you all here, but I'm waiting for the new set to come out so that viewers actually start clicking on the videos again. So we'll leave it at this one, and hopefully you all got some enjoyment out of it. I appreciate you coming to the videos that have older commanders in them, because not many people do, unfortunately. I'm Tribalkai. Thank you for watching.